What's up, everybody? Stevie B here, and let's talk handcuffs. Let's talk at handcuffs that you must have on your dynasty squad. But before we get into it, guys, drop me that like, hit that subscribe if you do play dynasty fantasy football. Help support the channel. But let's get into it. First guy up is going to be K.INGRAM. They don't draft anybody. They don't bring anybody in. All you've got there is James Conner and K.INGRAM. Connor, getting the workload, can he stay healthy? So it seems to me like they do like Keontae Ingram and James Conner together since they didn't bring anybody else in. Now, Keontae Ingram was a running back that was on one of my early videos after the season to stash him, before this happened, before they didn't draft anybody, just a guy you can pull up, off of waivers in some leagues or get thrown in a trade. Now that Keontae Ingram is the bona fide handcuff to James Conner, he's getting a little bit more expensive. So Keontae Ingram, definitely a handcuff that you want to have on your squad. Next guy up is going to be J.FORD, another guy that was in my video along with Keontae Ingram from months ago after the season to stash him because we knew that Hunt was not going to be re-signed and he was likely to go somewhere else. So all we've got is Chubb and J.FORD really in that backfield. So definitely a handcuff that you want to have. Can definitely get some burn to go along with Chubb since Chubb not really too much in the passing game. Does J.FORD get some of that? Or of course, if an injury happens, you've got J.FORD pretty much taking over for that offense. So a good handcuff to have, especially if you do have Chubb. But just hold on to Ford for now until he can become valuable during the season. And again, another guy that has just increased in value since he is the pure handcuff. Next guy you are going to want to have as a handcuff is going to be P.RINE. They are saying now that Javonte Williams could be ready week 1, which I still have some doubts about. But even if he is ready for week 1, P.RINE can still have a role in the offense like he did last year with Joe Mixon on the Bengals. You have new head coach in there, Sean Payton, who does like to use 2 running backs and has been successful having 2 top 10 fantasy running backs on the same team like Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. So P.RINE, especially if Javonte is not 100%, and I doubt they will go out and give Javonte 20 plus carries just coming back from this injury. So I expect P.RINE to be a little bit more involved early on, but definitely a handcuff that you need to have. Another guy that was on my video from months ago, Malik Davis. Luckily for him and for Tony Pollard, the Cowboys do not go out and draft a running back or bring anybody in. They did draft Deuce Vaughn, but I don't really count that. I don't think Deuce Vaughn is going to come in and take away a lot of carries. He might have a small role, maybe a gadget kind of guy, but I don't expect him to come in and take like 10 to 12 touches or anything like that. So Malik Davis is definitely a guy that you want to have now that Tony Pollard seems to be the guy. There is still a chance that they bring back Ezekiel Elliott or sign a veteran, but that hasn't happened yet. So Malik Davis is the pure handcuff to Tony Pollard that you do want. Maybe they do like Malik Davis as that guy after Tony Pollard. So we'll see if they bring anybody else in. But Malik Davis right now is the guy to have handcuffed for Tony Pollard. Next guy we're going to talk about is rookie Tank Bigsby. I've done a few videos on him. You can always look back at some of the other videos we have on the channel where I talk about Tank Bigsby. But right now, the bona fide number 2 to ETN, he's going to have a role in the offense. We see the NFL now going away from these, workhorse running backs. They don't want to give ETN 20 plus carries, right? They want to give somebody else some work. So Tank Bigsby, does he come in and take some of the goal line work? Does he get 10 to 12 carries a game, take away some goal line work? They use ETN in the pass game a little bit more, maybe. We will see. But Tank Bigsby, definitely a handcuff you want to have, especially if you do have Travis Etienne. Going in the late second round of rookie drafts, sometimes in the third. So don't sleep on Tank Bigsby. He was a top 5 talent for me coming into the draft. So I still have some faith in Tank Bigsby. And of course, you want him as that handcuff. Next guy up, let's stick to the rookie run in Zach Charbonnet. Pretty much everybody's RB3 coming into this NFL draft winds up going to one of the worst spots in Seattle where they already have Kenneth Walker. But Zach Charbonnet is going to have a role in the offense. I mean, he was a second round pick. They spent good draft capital on him. Video just came out the other day of him catching some passes. So out of the backfield, looks like possibly is he going to be that third down guy, give Kenneth Walker some break. That remains to be seen. But Kenneth Walker, if he can't stay healthy, Charbonnet comes right in and takes over that role. So Zach Charbonnet, definitely a must-own handcuff. Let's stick on the rookie run here and let's talk about Chase Brown. Gets drafted by the Bengals. We know that Joe Mixon is having some legal troubles. We don't know exactly what's happening there. There were some talks of getting released. He's got 2 more years left on his contract, but it looks like they can get out in 2024 possibly. So we'll see what happens there. But Chase Brown, a guy that can come right in and have a role on this offense just like Perine did. And of course, if Joe Mixon goes down, we saw what Perine can do. Chase Brown will hop right into that role. So Chase Brown is an exciting guy for this year to put up possibly very good production and even next year. And we'll see what happens going forward from there. But especially with Joe Mixon's kind of situation up in the air, Chase Brown, definitely a must own handcuff. The next must own handcuff that you need to have is going to be Elijah Mitchell. I mean, this guy before CMC came to town, he was averaging over 100 yards from scrimmage. A guy that can carry the ball, catch the ball, do a little bit of everything, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy. Especially with CMC there now, Elijah Mitchell is still getting carries. Like we saw him get 18 carries in that one game when he first came back. I want Elijah Mitchell because this handcuff, especially if CMC goes down, he steps right in. We already know that Elijah Mitchell can give you over 100 yards from scrimmage, and he's still going to get work even with CMC getting the load. Elijah Mitchell can still see 10 to 15 carries a game while CMC gets that 15 plus that 6, 7 targets a game. CMC averaged about 18 opportunities per game last year, if I'm not mistaken. They want to give somebody else the ball. So Elijah Mitchell is going to be involved and is the perfect handcuff if you have CMC. And the last guy we're going to talk about is Alexander Mattison. We know that it seems like the Vikings now are going to release Dalvin Cook on June 1st. That is when they can save $9 million in cap space. So it looks like Alexander Mattison and J.MCBRIDE, the rookie that they just drafted, you can throw him on this list as well. They are going to be the guys that are going to get the work now. We know that Alexander Mattison can carry a workload. He's basically a top 10 running back whenever Dalvin Cook is injured. So we know that Alexander Mattison can take some workload. Can he do that over the course of the season? I don't know how they're going to split up this workload, whether it's going to be Mattison and McBride, or is Mattison going to be the guy and then McBride is just going to be that backup handcuff. So we'll see how that happens, but you definitely want Alexander Mattison. Value is just skyrocketing right now with all this news. So Alexander Mattison and J.MCBRIDE, both guys you want as these handcuffs to Dalvin Cook, because if he leaves, these guys are going to be the guys that are going to be getting the work. On a good offense with Kirk Cousins, with J.J. Hawkinson, Addison. I mean, you're in a good offense. The running back is going to score points. That's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. And don't forget, if you're in startup drafts, these guys are extremely cheap that you can get in the later rounds of your startup. So keep that in mind as well and scoop some of these guys up late. But before we get out of here, guys, just do me that quick favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe if you do play Dynasty Fantasy Football. Appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. I'll see y'all on the next one.